back to the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our Pac-12 football predictions today, and our next team had a very disappointing year going 4-8, which led to the firing of their head coach. But this year they have 16 returning starters and are looking to become a factor in the Pac-12 North again. They are the Oregon Ducks. After such a disappointing season last year, Oregon fired their head coach Mark Helfrich, who took them to the 2014 National Championship game, and then they hired Southern Florida head coach Willie Taggart to come in and hopefully turn things around. They do have 16 returning starters. They would have had 17, but they lost wide receiver Darren Carrington to Utah. But they do return their quarterback Justin Herbert, and then their running back Royce Freeman, and then the defense will also be very experienced with those 9 returning starters. So I'm very excited to watch Oregon this year. I really think they're going to turn around. I expect the offense to be much more explosive like they were a couple of years ago. So they're going to be a very fun team to watch, and Willie Taggart does not play around. We saw what he was capable of down in South Florida, and I think he's going to do the same thing up here in Oregon. So they open up the season against Southern Utah. Great first game for a brand new head coach to see what your team's looking like. Hopefully can fix some problems if there are any. And it's just going to be a really good warm-up game for the Ducks. Obviously an easy win, no doubt about it. And then Nebraska, a team they had to travel to last season. They lost. It was a heartbreaker, but it was a thriller. They lost 35-32. It was such a great game to watch. But that was kind of the beginning of the end for Oregon. That started their 5-game losing streak against Nebraska. This year, Nebraska has to travel out to Oregon. Nebraska's still going to be a good team. They're not going to be the same team we saw last year. Nebraska got up into the top 10, and I really don't see that happening again this year. They're still going to be a very talented team. But I think Oregon, and Willie Taggart's second game, I think they're going to be very hyped up, and I know they're an experienced team, and I think they're going to take care of business against Nebraska. Even it might be close. It might be another thriller like it was last year, which if you're a college football fan, we wouldn't have any problem with that. But I really do think Oregon's going to defeat Nebraska, and that'd be a huge win for Willie Taggart and the Ducks, getting that win over another Power 5 opponent that's not in your conference. That'll be huge. And then they travel to Wyoming. That's a very interesting game, traveling to a Mountain West opponent. Stanford's doing the same thing, though, with San Diego State. Wyoming's no pushover. You all know that. They have maybe the potential number 1 draft pick in Josh Allen at quarterback. Wyoming's still a very good team. It's on the road, so they need to be careful of that. I do think they're going to take care of Wyoming, though, but I don't need to just kind of look over them. Wyoming's still going to be a challenge, and Josh Allen, we know, assuming he stays healthy, he's going to be a very tough quarterback to defend, not just for Oregon, but also for the entire Mountain West. But for right now, I'm going to give Oregon the win. Don't be surprised, though, if Wyoming does give Oregon a little bit of a scare or a little bit more of a challenge than they were expecting. And they start Pac-12 play against Arizona State. This is a team that I think is going to also have a very explosive offense, a team that's hoping to bounce back from that 5-7 record last year, even though they started 5-1. I like that it is. I don't like that it's on the road for Oregon. Arizona State, 13 returning starters. Todd Graham knows what he's doing down there. I'm hoping they get back to a bowl game this year just because it was really hard for me to watch them lose those 6 straight to end the season. But right now, for Oregon, I'm going to predict a loss on the road at the Sun Devils. It's a tough place to play. It's probably going to be one of those Pac-12 after dark games, which is always very tough. And, Oregon, they're experienced, but they're also young. They have it's only a sophomore quarterback. So right now, I'm going to give them the loss at Arizona State. And then they get California at home and Washington State at home, back-to-back home games, which are going to be huge for Oregon. California, I've said it a million times. You're going to hear it until I predict California. It's going to be a very bad year for them. First-year head coach, lost a lot of starters. Don't expect them to win many, if any, Pac-12 games, and they're going to get the win over California. And then Washington State, a team I'm also very excited to watch to see if they live up to expectations. Experienced quarterback in Luke Falk, 9 returning starters on defense, just like Oregon. So I'm very excited to watch that. Right now, if this was at Washington State, I would be choosing the Cougars. But because it's at Oregon, I'm going to give Oregon the win. This will be a very close game. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be very close, and it's going to be very fun. I do expect quite a bit of offense because I know Luke Falk slings that ball around. He could put up some points, not just in this game, but in a lot of games in the Pac-12. But Oregon is also going to have very explosive offense, so expect some fireworks in that one. Oregon gets the win over Washington State, and they are 5-1 going into Stanford. They've already done better than they were last year at 4-8. The only problem is they got a very tough schedule, back-to-back games on the road against Stanford and UCLA. I do predict them to lose to Stanford. They have 16 returning starters. Keller Chris, another good quarterback. Home field advantage, I do believe in it, and I believe that it's going to play a huge factor. And with Oregon going on the road to Stanford, I just don't see them pulling off the win. Not saying it can't happen because I know this Oregon team is going to be a lot better and improved. I just don't see them defeating Stanford. And then at UCLA, a team that has Josh Rosen at quarterback and a team that is going to be very talented, not just through him, but on both sides of the ball. And Oregon coming off a loss at Stanford and then having to go back on the road again and facing a tough UCLA team. I just don't see them winning that. And I'm going to have them to lose to the Bruins. And then Utah at home. Thank goodness they get to go back home and play Utah, a team that is still going to be a challenge to anybody that they play, but it's at home, and they do not have as much experience as they've had in years past. And right now I'm going to give Oregon the win over Utah. If you do remember, last time Oregon hosted Utah, Utah annihilated them. That was the year they really rose up in the rankings. That's not going to happen again this year. Even if Utah were to win, it would be in a very close fashion. But I do think Oregon's going to take care of business against the Utes. And then at Washington, the team that I think is the front runner in this Pac-12 North Division. Very tough place to play at Washington. This is the team that dropped 70 on Oregon last year. So with it being on the road, I expect Oregon to keep it a lot closer than the loss they had last year. I think it was 70-21. It's much closer than that, but they're still not going to have enough to get the win over Washington. That's just a tough schedule, you know. They're stuck in that division. They're going to play Washington every year, and they're clearly the best in the division. Made it to the college football playoff last year, so it could be a fun one to watch. I just don't think they're going to be able to pull off the upset. And then they get a very late bye week with only 3 weeks remaining in the season, so they're going to be really worn out. Much needed bye week going into the season, and luckily, their last 2 games are at home and against weaker Pac-12 opponents. So that is going to be huge for Oregon. Arizona, Oregon State. I think they'll defeat Arizona, not easily, but I think this is huge that they're both at home. If one of them was on the road, I would be a little concerned. But they're both at home. A team, Oregon, that's going to be experienced by this late in the season. They've already clinched bowl eligibility. They're going to be hyped about that. But now they're playing for a better bowl berth, better bowl appearance. Arizona, a team that I think will improve from that 3-9 record last year. I just don't think they're going to have enough to defeat Oregon, even though we've seen them defeat much better Oregon teams. And then Oregon State, the in-state rivalry game. This one could be fun to watch, depending on how Oregon State's doing. They had those 15 returning starters, and I do not doubt Gary Anderson one bit. I know he's a great head coach. He's going to get Oregon State back up to a competitive level in the North. But right now, I'm going to give Oregon the win over their rivals. And that is going to give the Ducks an 8-4 record. They literally flipped their record around from last year, that 4-8 record. And if you ask me, if I was an Oregon Duck fan, I would be thrilled with this. First-year head coach from Willie Taggart, he wins 8 games, gets you to a bowl game. I mean, that's huge. They have the potential to win 9 games if they can win their bowl games. So that is a huge improvement for the Ducks and a great thing and a great sign of things to come at Oregon, because if Willie Taggart can do this in his first year, we know what he can do when he can actually start building, because coaches usually hit their stride in year 3 or 4 when they're coaching the players they recruited themselves. So I'm very excited to watch this program, and hopefully Oregon has the potential to get back to the standards like back in 2014 and 2013 when they were competing for national championships. So we'll just have to wait and see. But right now Oregon goes 8-4, only losses coming on the road. All the 4 losses are on the road to Arizona State, Stanford, UCLA, and Washington. Very tough teams. If I was an Oregon fan, I would not be disappointed in this record. So we'll just have to wait and see. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.